welcome, Charles Lee, to the Knights Templar. And then you fall backwards out of your chair, spilling Mountain Dew and Doritos everywhere. And your mom comes in all pissed off. And she's like, hey, how the hell did all these Doritos get in here? Why is this sock so stiff, son? And you're like, I'm sorry, Mom.
gosh.
Please, just get out of my room. Please.
Okay.
Oh, you just don't understand.
Hello, and welcome to The Meat Hall. Grab a drink and join us on this quest for scandal, comical analysis, and hilarity. If you're not old enough to grab a drink, or close to it, this podcast probably isn't for you. Come back in a little while. Hey Internet, I'm Joey, your resident music man, and I played over 1,200 hours of D&D.
I'm Seth, and I pre-ordered the collector's edition of Cyberpunk 2077.
I'm Ian, an English major who's seen every Star Wars movie twice. This is the Friction Podcast, and today we're talking about Assassin's Creed.
Oh, so we're just including our majors now?
Okay.
Is that a thing? You're just gonna add that in, Ian?
What a flex. What a flex.
Hell yeah. Well, today we're talking about Assassin's Creed, and I'd like the entire audience to know that of the three of us, know the absolute most about Assassin's Creed. I've played the most games, I have the most hours, and no one can challenge me out of my two co-hosts.
I call bullshit.
Yeah, Joseph and I, we're no slouches when it comes to good old Ezio and the Hidden Blade and parkour. So
Now, Seth, tell me, can you give us a general idea of what Assassin's Creed is, the universe, the world?
Yeah, what I guess I'm settling into my role as the lore boy of the group. So, what is Assassin's Creed? It's a third-person action adventure, it's RPG now, game. It's a sci-fi essentially. That really confused people with the first one because you start out playing in the past and you're a guy in a hood with a hidden blade on his arm, but then you get jumped to the future. Turns out you play as a character named Desmond Miles, who, through the use of a sci-fi machine called an animus, goes back through his ancestral bloodline to act out. It's kind of ambiguous. He's either reading a recording that you play in the game or acting out his ancestor's role as an assassin.
That is one thing that brought me to the games, is that it is sci-fi. It's a sci-fi premise, but a fantasy world.
Yeah, I think that really unites a lot of people who would be interested in one or the other, because you can, in a good Assassin's Creed game, it's mostly set in the cool past, and then you have some interesting sci-fi to be like, oh wow, distraction. But that was most of the games until Assassin's Creed 3 when Desmond dies, spoiler. And then they kind of expand the animus. Their excuse is that we've unlocked new technology. You don't have to be the exact person to go through your bloodline. We have Desmond's bloodline, so you can play through his ancestors. And who's you? It turns out Assassin's Creed 4, you are you.
Just some random guy.
The future ones in Assassin's Creed 4 are a first person, which is interesting. And then the animus as a plot device continues in the modern time. But the entire reason we go back in time, it's not really back, it's back in time, I guess, is because the Knights Templar are looking for artifacts created by a race of humans, a race of beings,
something precursors.
A race of something precursors, and a lot of the games, and originally 1 through 3, revolved around something called the Apple of Eden, which is one of these devices. And then after 4, when 4 is when things get crazy, the lore kind of gets a lot more complicated, but it all boils down to assassins versus Templars. And then that's all of them until after Syndicate, when Witcher 3 comes out, and they decide to make Assassin's Creed Origins. And you are no longer a faceless first-person character. You play as a character, I forgot her name, but it's a female, and it's the modern times. She uses the Animus. She stole from Abstergo. Who's that? We'll ignore it. They're the Templars. In modern times, and she goes back to the first assassin ever in ancient Egypt, and it was a pretty cool game story-wise, I guess. But then they go back farther in Odyssey to the Greeks,
to the first assassin ever. Wait,
and that's when, my opinion, I'm not going to go into this right now because this is not the segment for it, but I want to say modern Assassin's Creed RPGs are good games, but they're not Assassin's Creed games.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So
I think very few people would disagree with you, Seth.
yeah. So that's the lore. And also, by the fact, if you played Watch Dogs, they're somewhere in there. Don't worry, they're related. It's cool. But yeah, that's Assassin's Creed. You play as someone who's versus Templars, and there's always stealth and a hidden blade in your wrist.
By the way, here we are. We read fan fiction.
Hey, Joseph, what did you read?
I read, scrolling up to notice what is Assassin's Creed: Outlaw by Dragon Emperor Zero. For dating purposes of when we record this, which is going to be releasing in forever. This one was released the day before we recorded this.
Wow.
Whoa.
February 17th.
Can I say, as someone who is a frequent user, or was once a frequent user of a fanfiction.net, I have never seen a publish date not have a year with it. It just says February 17th. That's insane.
Yep.
I probably should have said the name, the number, whatever.
I already said it. It's fine.
Okay.
And before I start, I have to say, I like how so many fanfics use an excessive amount of name brands. Like, the car has a brand, their clothes have a brand, the shoes have a brand, there's some random piece of food that somebody has and it's branded. I mean, it may not be, like, actually that much, like how you would compare to normal life, but it just feels weird that having that much compared to other forms of media and literature.
I think they call that guerrilla marketing, right?
You can't use that. You either can't use stuff or people don't want to use stuff because it's not sponsored. Anything that's copyrighted won't have anything like that in it.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure the Coca-Cola company's pretty chill about that kind of thing.
I'm just looking at this fic and immediately saw Xbox One just there.
Yeah, right. So, in the story, we follow Joshua, a generic white guy, but tall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like 6'4", he's white, he's got a mustache and a black mustache and a black goatee, skinny but also a little chubby in spots, it says. And I was like, this guy seems like every single person that plays Assassin's Creed.
Oh, got him. Good job, man.
I mean,
you got the people of this podcast.
I'll say there's 3 examples here.
My hair is brown. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. And also, anyone who's a geologist or paleontologist will be probably a little offended because it conflates the two a few times. I've been told that there is a difference, and I should know the difference. Yeah. I don't know.
One's bones, one's rocks, right?
Yeah. But there's a huge difference. I don't know. Right.
What's your fic about?
So, the story. So he's Joshua, just like, it's pretty short. It's only 1 chapter. It's prologue, which I'm, it's first chapter. I thought it was interesting. So it's Joshua. He gets a job from Abstergo. I can say words. Who's Ubisoft, but also not Ubisoft. In the game, Ubisoft is Abstergo. It's complicated.
Yeah, they make games. They're also Templars.
Yeah, that's the tongue-in-cheek thing that Ubisoft does. It's like, they're Abstergo, haha. Right, he gets the job based on his friend who already works there. He's Calvin, who's also a generic olive-toned guy. Hi, you've reached the portion of the show where Joey just forgets to think about what he actually means to say before he says something that sounds stupid. So please, enjoy the backpedaling. Why am I so dumb? It says that in the fic. He says it has all-tone skin. It doesn't say what they are. It just describes their skin tone. So I was like, is he Jewish? Is he Latin?
Okay, I don't think
he's Arabic. I don't know.
Okay, I think clip that. Take that one. Oh,
what?
Joseph needs to know exactly.
Yeah,
Usually authors keep
a
subtle thing. Okay.
I was just curious.
I mean, it's an avid curiosity.
Well,
representation is important.
It's more representation, and also then that gives you more context for the character.
Well,
all 3 of those groups of people have different cultures.
That's true.
You know?
You're right. You saved
Yeah.
it. You saved it.
You did save it because it sounded pretty bad at first.
You dug yourself a 10-foot grave, and then you found the moon shoes at the bottom to jump out.
I did.
Proud of you.
Moon shoes, not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Don't sue us. All right.
Yeah, so they introduce him. He goes cross country. He shows up to work the first day. Surprise! Calvin's an assassin. Wow. He tells Josh about the precursors, what the Animus is, what the Templars are, and what they do, and that Abstergo is the Templars. Did I say the assassins? And that he's an assassin. Wow.
Is that your note?
The hidden people. That's like the hidden ones.
Nice.
Like how,
the
how he
hidden
explains
ones. Yeah.
it. That throughout history, the Templars are trying to take power and control all of people's free will. And the assassins are like, no, don't do that. And he tells them about the artifacts too. And so there are funny parts in this, like this one. I got a quote here. After explaining all the things, Joshua says, "And you want me to be part of this war that's been going on since before our twice great grandparents were even itches in our thrice great granddad's ball sacks?"
Whoa.
And I was like, all right, that I read that and I was like, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah, I would be too. Wow.
All right. Then they go on to work next day in Abstergo. Josh goes to the Animus. And then we're in Wyoming in 1841. If you couldn't tell from the title, it's a Western. Haha. Outlaw. Assassin's Creed Outlaw. Then I'm angry. If you couldn't tell from the stuttering.
Yeah.
Well, it's just I read the next scene where our main character, our main like assassin's character in the past, is being born, and it is completely ripped off from Assassin's Creed 2.
Of course it is.
Of course, that's
I feel like I should be hitting square and triangle while I'm
To make his
reading.
little leg kick. To make his little leg kick.
Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
that part. Yeah.
The little like arms moving sideways as the counter. Yeah, that definitely felt like I should be doing that. I was like, wow.
Or,
And
my
even the
Xbox
dad,
has
even the dad is like, listen to those lungs. She's got. Look at that strength in that baby. Let's see what he can do.
Joseph,
You know?
is this an homage or is this actual ripping off? What do you think?
It says in the author's notes at the bottom that it's inspired by Assassin's Creed 2, 3, 4, Rogue, and Odyssey and Origins. And I said,
fanfiction.
really? It's inspired? I couldn't tell. All right, anyways. Now that the rage is out.
Get back down from
that
your train.
includes our portion of Assassin's Creed Rage podcast.
a podcast within a podcast.
Yeah. So then he gets back out of the Animus and he's like, whoa, what was that? And then they leave. And surprise, while they're going home in their branded truck, they get attacked by Templars. Oh my gosh. And then nothing really happens. Just sentences later, they're like, yeah, we made it away. Suck that, Templars. Haha. Then they they
Suck that.
that was a little disappointing that there wasn't a chase scene or anything. Then the two get introduced to the whole team back at the Assassin's Hideout. There's another dude who's even taller than our protagonist, who is 6'4" and tall. So like the other guy's like 6'9" or something ridiculous.
Interesting.
And then two women who we get extra descriptions of breast size and ass shape, which I mean, it's fan fiction. I kind of expected that. And I know that this is narrated omnisciently. I mean, until it's third person narration. However, I do like to think that the description is from our protagonist, and I'm impressed that he could tell exactly their breast size and ass shape from across the room and with their clothes on.
Yeah, I think that's part of Eagle Vision.
That's his assassin blood coming out.
Now, when you say Eagle Vision, do you mean traditional Eagle Vision or the RPG Eagle Vision, which is a legit eagle in the sky?
Yes.
Yeah,
good.
both.
Yes.
Where do you think follow-on Eagle Vision got it from, if not a bunch of horny eagles?
Exactly. Who may or may not actually be eagles, because sometimes they're hawks.
Sometimes they're ravens.
Yeah, they're a Raven in one.
Who knows?
Yeah, how do they even connect? Like what is supposed to be going on there?
Here
Do you have like some sort of like magical connection to this magic bird flying around? Like what the fuck? But you can't like communicate with it, and it doesn't like it. Oh my god,
that started actually in Far Cry. And it's actually connected to the Assassin's Creed lore. Here I go on my chair now. Far Cry is in the same universe. Okay, I'm getting back down. Hey,
yeah.
Joseph,
so I'm almost done.
Part 2.
Yeah, Joseph, please continue.
So we get an obvious sexual attraction between the protagonist and both the women, which one of the women is very. I read the description of her, and I immediately thought of the girl in the Desmond's love interest. I forget her name.
Oh yeah, the one that is a Templar.
Yeah,
Lucy.
Lucy, who's a Templar, but then is not a Templar, but
come at me about my Assassin's Creed.
Who also dies.
I don't even know who Lucy is.
I don't.
Ian's gonna go to his bookshelf and pull out his Assassin's Creed lore book, like I have my Destiny one.
And yeah, I definitely thought it seems like she's probably inspired by Lucy. Whether inspired or ripped off is your question. I might think the latter because of the earlier scene, and then one is also even more diverse. Someone who's dark skinned again doesn't tell us any more than that. The other woman is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the end of the prologue that ends that day. Like, oh, can I go back to the apartment? No, you're fine. Well, we just did a thing, and Abstergo won't know that you're there or something.
Okay, interesting.
It's just like ends that, and that's the prologue.
Can I say it's really refreshing that Joseph has brought us the beginning of a story, because this is this is a day ago and it's not completed, so he's going to add to it, which is nice. And I also want to add, Joseph, did you catch that the ancestor's name is Shin Malfur?
I noticed. I didn't know if it had anything to do.
For those that know, Shin Malfur is a Destiny character in Destiny lore. So accidentally, Joseph has found us a Destiny fanfic, which is interesting.
Oh man!
When I first saw the name, I had to Google it. I was like, "That's Malfur." In the what do you say? How do you say it? In the little beginning part, the synopsis, does anybody go about their lives knowing they're descended from a gunslinger, capital G, from Destiny? So, good job, Joseph. We should have a counter every time he does it now, because that'd be interesting.
Moving on to my critiques.
Mm-hmm.
I already said one, that he totally ripped off the thing, and that you could tell. Next, they show they know a shit ton about this character, this ancestor, before they really have any flashbacks. They only have one flashback that's like a paragraph and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
And but when he's supposed to be an assassin, they literally said hidden ones before, that they were one of the hidden ones. And so how do they know so much bullshit about this guy who's supposed to not exist in history? And then they can only find out stuff about them from people's DNA.
Probably all their magic fucking eagles.
Right. So, well, it does seem like a bit of a one-on-one kind of a premise for the couple of games. I can also see that there basically isn't any other premise or setup for like an Assassin's Creed story
and Destiny story.
Yeah, there's only
one
device, the Animus, that has it, and it has certain keys like people and the Templars and the Assassins that you have to include. So I mean, you can only do so much in the world of Assassin's Creed. So I'll forgive it a little bit.
Okay, interesting. I disagree. Dun dun dun. Editor.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because my fanfic was called "Never Have We Ever" by, excuse my French, Ass, Sass, and Sin is the author's name. What is it? It is a really short story. Its tag is humor, and it was published March 13th of this year. No, last year. Sorry. And the word count's only 676 words. What's the premise? The premise is Desmond from AC 1 through 3, and technically all of them because this is blood, but whatever. And Altair and Ezio and Connor and Edward from Assassin's Creed 1 through 4, main characters, all play Never Have I Ever together. It doesn't explain how they're doing this, but they just do. Some notes I have. The author actually did a little bit of research because Altair is drinking a liquor called Arak, Araq, sometimes with a K, and has Eastern Mediterranean origins. I think like I did some minor research on that because I was like, what a specific thing for him to be drinking. And the fic is just really fun because they do stuff like Altair as the oldest assassin in the bloodline for Desmond's bloodline. They go back further. We know that he says stuff like, "Never have I ever used an explosion to cover an escape," because when his time, he says explosions weren't common, and he says stuff like, "Never have I ever have fired a pistol," and it's like it's obvious that it's really actually kind of funny to see these characters interact, and the characterization is actually kind of accurate, I think. Because like Ezio, one of his is that he says, "Never have I ever had a Templar in my immediate family," and he gets all the Kenways because
Yeah.
he hates them. And it's like I kind of get these characters what they would do. And Edward has a good jab too. He says, "Never have I ever held the apple of Eden," which is like everyone except for him.
Right.
And they kind of go on and then they end. The ending is kind of abrupt. It's supposed to be short, but I did want to point out that this fic is great because it's kind of wish fulfillment for diehard fans to be like, what would these characters be like if they interacted? Because they're on a line of time where they can never really talk. And also, it's a wonderful trip down memory lane for people that actually know what's going on. They reference a lot of stuff happened in the games and not like big things. Because I played Assassin's Creed 2, and they reference some things that happen, like characters, that I didn't really catch up on, like, or get. But I know that someone who like just played Assassin's Creed 2 would get it and be like, "Oh, that's a nice touch." And I think, again, to portent my future opinion, I feel like this really supports AC's fanfic ability because it's so open and they can. It's like a family story. It's easy to do that sort of thing, and I have a note here that kind of go off. I say that this also argues that AC is better to fanfic than the current games because Assassin's Creed Origins is just too darn big. It is. I've had it for years. I have 60 hours in it, and I'm not even halfway through the game. It's just it's
Same.
so having these early games be so condensed to one long story ish open world thing, it leads to good fan fiction. So that's
Definitely.
what my story is. So it's a short, fun, funny story.
That's one thing I wanted to say about Syndicate is that it's the only one where you don't have to like go to like 8 million different locations. Black Flag sort of, but you're just like localized into London. Like your first mission is in like a town outside of London, but then you ride a train to London, and then all of your missions for the most part take place just in London. You don't have to spend so much time like traveling around. Like I've got a lot of hours in Valhalla, and so much of it is just like traveling to the next destination. It's like, cool, show me off your world, but like by hour 30 I've seen pretty much everything, and then the rest of it's just procedurally generated trees.
Yeah, so that's my little fic. It was funny, and I think it really supports the content of Assassin's Creed.
My favorite line is when Ezio calls him Filio di Puttana.
Yeah,
and they butchered the pronunciation, but that means son of a bitch in Italian.
I almost said there's no cursing in this one, but I guess there is.
No, definitely Ezio, and I think Katza means shit in Italian as well.
I thought merda was shit.
Merda is shit in French. Let me pull up Google Translate.
Yeah, and because
I know he says that.
While Ian does that, I do want to point out my other thing about this fic is that it's all dialogue. There's very little time wasted on describing what a character looks like because someone reading this would already know that. And I think that's really sweet and beautiful as for fan fiction as a medium, of expression. Be like, these guys already know what these people look like, so here we go. There's just them talking,
right.
And it's up to you, the audience member, to be like, I know you set the scene in your head, which I think is interesting.
I'm pretty sure Ezio is the assassin with the dirtiest mouth.
Yeah,
sure.
And also the dirtiest penis. That dude, all 3 games that guy's in, he is just dicking down.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, we're not here to slut shame.
That's the premise in Brotherhood. How he loses his armor is that he's banging, and then the town gets attacked.
Oh my god, I remember playing AC2 at the age of like 12, and I was at my dad's house because he let me play mature video games and my mom didn't. But I remember the sex scene in like the first or second mission,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember being like, oh no, I hope my dad doesn't come in soon. Oh god, oh no, am I terrible? Yeah, Seth, are you done?
Hey, yeah, I was waiting for you to jump in. Yeah, that's my fit.
Okay.
Ian, what did you read?
I read it is called Black Flag High by Anime is Awesome, So Deal With It. This was written in November 2nd, 2014 is the last update. It was originally published January 7th, 2014. It is about a high school featuring every assassin up to that point of different degrees. It recasts Edward and fuck, I'm doing it now. I'm thinking about the long pauses. I'm sorry. It recasts Ezio and Connor as half brothers. Who are both attractive young men. Our main character is an OC named Elizabeth. She transfers in her sophomore year to Black Flag High. Who names a school that is?
Yeah, why is it so specific to only Assassin's Creed 4?
Raise the sales.
Because they're all obsessed with killing people. Their PE classes are shooting guns, climbing mountains, doing leaps of faith. Here's the thing, though. I kept waiting for it to be like, oh, by the way, we're training you all to be the next crop of assassins. Nope. Just supposed to be a regular high school.
Oh, it's normal.
I thought you were gonna say Templars, and
oh no. They can only use that twist once.
Yeah, they can't even get the first twist. I mean,
Right. The twist of everyone being a Templar. Oh my gosh.
So this one does a lot of cool things and a lot of really dumb things. Let's just be honest. The writing is not super crisp, but I think that's largely because I'm assuming Anime is Awesome, So Deal With It back in 2014 was also a high school sophomore. And the OC really hates language arts classes, which is weird because the author is an author. So it's very interesting. One of the chapters, she says, all they do is, chapter 6, she alludes to Twilight, or references it directly and says that they're watching Twilight and how dumb it is, which I thought was really weird because Twilight started out as a fan fiction, and it just was sort of this, like, meta reference. It seemed
50 Shades started as a fan fiction.
Twilight started out as Harry Potter fan fiction.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Sure.
Joey, what do you think?
Sure.
Is that a thing I don't know about?
I am gonna just let one of you two look stupid.
No, it's not. The first hit gave me nothing. Harry Potter and Twilight crossover. The fans. Ian, I think you're blowing smoke.
Sure. The Twilight started out.
Is Twilight.
Hold on. Start out. No, not as a Broadway play. Fuck off, Google.
The erotic trilogy, originally Master of the Universe, was posed as a Twilight fanfic. Okay, so the first hit of this Twilight, a fanfiction of Harry Potter, you get 50 Shades of Grey is a fanfic of Twilight. And then you get a hit for a Twilight crossover of the Harry Potter. Ian, I think...
Ian pulled a Joey!
Sure.
Ian, I cannot believe, because that is soul-crushing if you actually said that was
Ian pulled a Joey!
This is an extra now for sure. Goodness. Ian, you almost scared me to death. I was really like, what? You know what's happened? You know what this is? This is exactly like the who played Batman?
Christian Bale?
It's the Christian Bale freakout thing with Ian again. You know, the video.
Christian Bale
The
freaked
video
out.
really existed, and then we had to watch the video like 3 times for Andy to be like, "I don't think it's real." It's exactly
If we end
what's
up keeping
going
this, I feel
on.
like I should explain. So there's this video online of Christian Bale
There are
absolutely
many
losing
videos
his mind
online.
on this lighting guy who just like sort of like messed with his light or something in the middle of a scene, and only the audio is online.
Yeah.
But I thought there was a video, and the specific video was some guys in their garage. So it was on the set of one of the Terminator movies. They were in front of a green screen. Some dude who, upon further reflection, was clearly not Christian Bale, but looked like Christian Bale.
Well, they blocked
And
out his
then
face.
the Terminator.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and dunk on myself here. The Terminator was a refrigerator box robot. It was a man in a costume made of boxes that was painted green, except for his face hole,
His human
which
face
is clear through the square cut.
The
in
best
the
part-
box that's
It was
supposed
only
to be
cut.
his
It was only
head.
cut on 3 sides, so it was open.
Okay, so the best part about all of this is that we had to show Ian. We had to watch a video with Ian for him to catch it, and that wasn't the first thing he caught on to. It was the fake green screen in the background. He's like, "I think it's a green sheet." And I was like, "Ian, look at the robot."
We were like,
Yeah.
Ian, is there anything else you noticed? He's like, the guy in the box.
The guy in the box. Yeah, no, it took me disturbingly long for me to click over and like, wait, this would be a multi-million-dollar production. They probably would not use a cardboard squares to create the Terminator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, back to Assassin's Creed
Yeah, what were we talking
fanfiction.
about before this
As
giant rant?
as we've totally derailed and we're almost
Because-
out of time.
Yeah.
So that killed my one note. Some other funny things that happen. The PE teacher passes out drunk and they have to carry him to the school nurse. And apparently it's a pretty common occurrence because nobody seems like, whoa, why did he pass out drunk?
There he goes
As
again.
far as how the story is told, it's mostly just like little high school vignettes. The pacing is actually done very well. The author uses a lot of like things in parentheses that just say what class they're in, or like 16 minutes later at one point. And so that's pretty cool. And then, so there are some problems I had with it. It recasts Haytham Kenway as Edward and Connor, who are now half brothers, as their dad. And so to flex the lore, Haytham is the child of Edward and Connor is the child of Haytham. So I can sort of understand why they might want to do that, because Haytham is, when you play him in the game, he's much older than Connor or even Edward, but they've completely thrown off the timeline. And I feel like it's too far of a step, because a lot of fan fiction is sort of just like playing with different characters. But I think that is too far of a step. It sort of breaks the like internal fiction. So just a real quick 30-second quick and dirty flex my philosophy degree.
Here we go.
So the way that fiction
Stand
works
back.
as like it's all made up, but is it true? So it's this idea that characters have like actions and they're created by an author, but they're made up. But we can see that there are like forms of truth within that. So like if Sherlock Holmes fails to solve a case because he's really stupid, right? That's wrong. We know that Sherlock Holmes is extremely smart and solves all the cases because he's a good detective.
Mhm.
So that's like a break from the fiction. So to have Haytham as the father of his own father, too far, with no explanation. Terrible, awful, hate it.
It's one thing if he's his own grandpa, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Nice reference, man. Good
Yeah,
job.
thanks.
hell yeah. So the other cool thing is it's very meta in a lot of interesting ways. So they play a lot of video games and they're sort of structured around, it almost feels like you're reading like an Assassin's Creed mission, a lot of the PE classes. And then they play a lot of video games and they have a lot of like standard reactions. Edward dies a lot and he gets really angry about dying so much. And so they make a lot of these little like pocket references to different video games. Like at one point he's playing Last of Us and they're like, Last of Us on easy is like COD on hard. So they're like, you're
Wow.
good for dying. this also, it includes a bunch of borrowed OCs from different authors, which is very cool. It's always set off by an author's note, like, thank you for letting me borrow. Let's see, the first one, she borrows this character Lightning from the fan fiction, or from author Tim. I can't tell because the author's name is, I think, Lightning Thrash, or no, maybe it belongs to Timothy Lightning parenthesis. But either way, it borrows characters, and I thought that was just like a really interesting turn. So basically, my assessment of this is that it has one of the coolest fan fiction things I've ever seen, which is borrowing other original characters and sort of working to maintain true to those characters with an author with whom you're in contact. And then the worst example of trying to maintain the truth of the fiction,
Beautiful.
trying to maintain that and just completely breaking it. I can't stand it. I'm still mad.
Oh wow, this is the first time I've seen you mad at fanfiction before.
I've got a couple fun honorable mentions if you guys would like to see some of them.
Go for it.
One of them is Where in Time by G14 Classify, which the Fry twins meet Carmen Sandiego in Victorian London. It's very short, or I would have picked it, but it's basically just like Carmen Sandiego steals something, and then they bump into her, and
then they kill her.
They're just like, they're like, stop! We know you are the thief. Who are you? Jacob shouted. The tall figure turned toward the twins. Most of her face was obscured by her ridiculously huge fedora and the collar of her coat, but they could see the warning in her eyes. My name is Carmen. Don't try to follow me. And then that's the end, which was pretty fun.
That's fun.
Oh man, that was a weird break. That was a weird cut, huh, guys? So how do you feel? How do you feel about this fanfic? What's the fanficability, you might say? Seth?
Given the amount of play fanfic authors already have or think they have when it comes to an IP, intellectual property, I think Assassin's Creed lends itself very well to fanfiction. So I give it 4 hidden blades out of 5 press X to synchronize.
All right. Ian?
Yeah, I would agree with that. While mine made a lot of pretty abhorrent missteps as far as fanficking Assassin's Creed, it also did some cool stuff. And your guys's were pretty good at that as well. So I would give it 6 games and 3 Witcher fanfic games.
All right.
Beautiful.
I think that all of our stories were pretty solid this time, but I'm really gonna have to limit the fanficability because of the limited premises we can really have. I mean, it is expanded to like all of history. Like you can have different characters, but you can only have so many premises to start the story. You know.
Interesting.
So I would give it maybe a 9, but I'm gonna have to only give it 700 women that Ezio has had sex with out of 1,000. I was about to say 6 out of 10, but I was like, or 7 out of 10. I was like, wait, hold on. It's got to be more accurate to how many, how much Ezio has just plowed.
We get flommed for that.
Yeah.
If you weren't accurate.
Yeah, we would. All right, so do we want to say our favorite assassins now?
Yeah, we could we don't have much time. We could just say what they are, and then we can react to each other.
Ezio.
Really? What a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the most games. He's the most fleshed out character, and I think he shows the most change.
Mm-hmm. Ian, I should go last, I think. Well, maybe not. I don't know. What do you?
I'll go now. Yeah. Edward, because he's a pirate, and
for sure. That does not surprise me.
Fly as hell.
Yeah, they are. Mine is Mine is Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay.
She's the coolest. She's really fleshed out. Her voice actor's great. The story actually has her doing stuff. So screw off.
That's fine.
I love it.
No one is pushing back. Who are you telling to screw off?
The people
internet.
listening.
The internet.
Cassandra's great, and not Alexios. Alexios sucks. Cassandra's the better option.
Yeah,
that might get floms. All right.
And
Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been the Friction Podcast with me, Joey.
I'm Seth.
And I'm Ian. Please don't flom us.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Rage Podcast. The podcast within a podcast, presented by the Meat Hall within the podcast of the Friction Podcast. Not confusing at all, right?
Joey, how many?
I have perfected
He's standing on this chair.
7 different Ezio games. I mean, 3 of the same and then 2 of the same and 2 of the same. But they were all on different consoles. So, like, I'm not saying, like, I did it, I just played it again. No. I perfected it. 3 different games, 2 different consoles.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good job perfecting all those games. Except I've played every single one except Odyssey.
Oh, look at me. I've played 1 more game.
Okay, before this really gets heated, I just want to point out that I've played the least, but I do enjoy them. I've played all of them, maybe except for Rogue, and I have never completed, like, achievement-wise, all of them, but I have beat the story, and I think it's a really fun game.
Joey, or Seth, thank you for throwing that alley-oop so I could just go ahead and dunk on Joey. Yeah, how many hours in Rogue do you have?
0.
Yes, exactly.
I intentionally didn't play Rogue.
Yeah, so how can you sell yourself on completing the games, and yet you have 0 hours in Rogue?
Also, I'm pretty sure it was released on the newer console before I got it, so then I just never bought it.
Okay, I will. That's Joseph's. That's always Joseph's stance when it comes to anything. Is, well, they had it on the PlayStation 4 before I got it. So.
I didn't have a PS4 for like 3 years.
And I also want to add, I think Ian's the only person recorded history to play Rogue. So
yeah, that's fine. Thank you for feeding into my point. So did they not release Rogue on the personal computer? Do you not own gaming computer? Because here's the thing.
I did not own a gaming computer in like 2014 or whatever it was.
And yet here it is, 2022. And what's that? If I go to my Steam library?
Gosh,
Assassin's Creed Rogue?
Okay, you know what?
How did that get there?
What? I have a counter, Ian, to your Assassin's Creed Rogue. Have you played Unity?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, no. Hey, Ian, we could buy Joey Rogue. His birthday was like 3 days ago.
It was. We could.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't even played that much of Unity. I played a few hours and I thought it was trash.
It's okay.
Yeah, to be fair, before the audience starts hating me, I've only played like 3 missions in Unity, and it.
So I played more Unity. Ah!
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, I peaked so bad there.
Hook, line, and sinker, man. Yeah. So
I think also we should just take a sec to get our AC hot takes out really fast.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to say it now, and this may turn a lot of people against me, but I'm going to go ahead and say Syndicate is probably my favorite.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't think that's a terrible take.
No, I mean, tell us why. Why it's your favorite.
So I really like the map. One thing about the newer games is there's like, 30% of the parkour cool stuff that the other ones have. So like Valhalla, I've got a lot of hours in Valhalla, and there's no really like cool, like, let me get on top of this tall building and run around. It's all, these Viking villages that you're just kind of hopping from roof to roof. Whereas in Syndicate, it was like Victorian London. So you had this like cool, like, rappel gun that you could like Spider-Man around with and get up to the top of Big Ben. And that was really fun. It was the first one where you could switch between the two based on mission. And
the main characters.
Yeah, right? The 2 main characters, sorry. I think it was the first one. I think maybe Liberation had a thing like that perhaps. But Syndicate was the first mainline game where you could switch between two protagonists with different skill trees and different skill sets.
I agree. I think it's interesting you're saying that because a Syndicate, why did I say a Syndicate? Syndicate was the last Assassin's Creed game that was a third person action parkour stealth game. That's a lot of adjectives I just said. But the point is that the newer Assassin's Creed games from Odyssey to now are RPGs. They've shifted.
Yeah, they've shifted the combat to hack and slash.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Ian, and I don't think it's far off to say that because it was the last in an open world action based parkour game that are probably based on the other ones before it cemented the formula, or at least was the best example of it before they completely switched to a Witcher 3 clone. And yeah, it's a Witcher 3 clone. That's what they wanted to do. I'm not kidding. I'll stand on that hill. They said it's going to be like Witcher 3 when the Odyssey was coming out. But Ian, you're completely right. I don't know if it's the best. Actually, I have my favorite. If I can say my favorite.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
my favorite Assassin's Creed game, and people are going to hate this online, but let me explain why. Is 3, Assassin's Creed 3. Okay, listen, here's the thing. Critically, it didn't do very good because its story was interesting in some places. Okay, listen. Maybe it's not great, but there's only one reason why it's my favorite, and it's called the Homestead Missions.
dude.
Okay.
They are the best side quests in any in snapping in any third person action game ever. And it was so cool because as a young gamer, as a young kid, I ignored them because I was focused on, doing parkour or killing people. I was like, homestead missions in the forest, because it was the first game where you can like climb on a lot of trees. I was like, I'm not worried about that. So I did the stories later, and I have never been more invested in side characters and a community as much as I have been in the homestead missions. So it's a house and a big plot of land of wood. And if you do what I did, ignore those homestead missions, that's all it is. But if you do the side quests in that place, all of a sudden you get the equivalent of townspeople moving into your homestead. And you get all these unique characters and these moments. You walk someone down an aisle at their wedding. You meet all these interesting people. And, spoiler, it ends with the death of your mentor. So it kind of is like mandatory in the story to play these things. I just didn't know that. And ever since Assassin's Creed 3, I have always looked for and been disappointed when other games didn't have equivalents.
Okay.
Yeah, so because of the homestead missions, I think 3 is my favorite. I don't think it's the best. I just think it's my favorite.
I don't think you're wrong. I totally agree. When 3 came out, it was my favorite of all of them that had come out. But since then, Black Flag and Syndicate have sort of overtaken that. I personally loved 3, though. I just saw this the other day. They created miles of forest for you to free run around in.
Oh, it's so much fun. It is fun.
Yeah, I totally agree about the homesteading missions. Before you flam us, yes, every game has a hideout, that you can upgrade and that you can. Black Flag, very interestingly and famously had, you could have your own fleet and you could like log in on your phone and get people to join your fleet and increase the power of your fleet. But they didn't have like what you said, the homestead, the human missions of just like those great character to character moments in the same sort of way.
All right. Well, I guess I'll take my turn. The most basic one, I will say Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is my favorite.
Oh. Interesting.
2 is also very good. 2 is the first one that I played. It's a little too repetitive for me. It's especially because I'm a perfectionist, and so it's just a little bit long and arduous to perfect.
Which you did like twice.
Yeah, twice. I did it twice. But Brotherhood, gave you stuff that you could buy so that you could actually finish the side quests easier. That was the most annoying thing. Assassin's Creed 2, in the Ezio games, you have to go around and collect eagle feathers because it's like a reminder of his family, Ezio's family. And in 2, it doesn't tell you where they are on the map.
So I had to look up where the hell they were and go get them. But in Brotherhood, they were on the map, and so it's so much easier. And I just, it's a lot more concise. He's a little more experienced. You already have all the stuff unlocked at the very beginning of the game, and he even gets a couple extra weapons through it with Da Vinci. So I think it's a little more well-rounded.
That just inspired me. I think at the end of this episode, we should talk about who our favorite assassin is in the franchise. But we should save that because that's going to be a whole different debate.
I agree. Joe, I think that's a totally dope take. The only thing that I didn't like about, because I'm someone who had a phase where I tried to trash on Ezio because I thought it made me edgy.
Right.
It didn't.
It doesn't.
No, the Ezio stuff is amazing. Now that I'm much older and more mature, the Ezio stuff is amazing. The only real problem I have with the whole Ezio line is that the healing is a medicine system, and all the rest of the games use like progressive healing over time, and it's just sort of weird to think about, like, oh, do I have enough medicine for this fight? Whereas I can just kind of go and rage through Templars, and just, like, as long as I can climb up a thing that they can't climb up, I can be in the fight for like half an hour, just like killing waves of enemies.
Right.
Your opinion on healing system in video games is my favorite, Ian. Because every time it comes up, every game we play, it's, oh, this one's medicine based. Oh, that's weird. Guess I gotta suffer this one.
Yeah. I started playing BioShock and I was like, oh, fuck.
Ian and I have opposite takes. I thought it was convenient because, oh no, I'm almost dead. Click one button. Oh, I'm fine now.
There are pros and cons to a medicine-based healing system for sure.
Also, best mechanic in any Assassin's Creed game. I just have to say this. In Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, after you unlocked the heavy weapons, you could throw giant axes and broadswords like 20 feet away at people and just murder them instantly. And they'll be laying on the ground with a sword sticking out of their chest. It's
okay, that's wicked vision.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of opinions about Assassin's Creed games. We should just agree right now. They're all freaking cool. Like, there's even the bad ones that are like, they're like, there's some cool moments in all of them.
Yeah, three's garbage in my eyes, but the gameplay's still awesome. It's still cool.
Oh yeah, the bow and arrow. When that was at E3, when they showed the bow and arrow, I was like, oh my god.
I loved the bow and arrow. I loved the free roaming. I just got so bored of it. It's a shame.
It is.
That's decently fair. Although the twist, when you find out, spoiler alert, that Hatham is a Templar and not an assassin, is still, I think, top tier storytelling.
The twist that comes in like 5 hours in the game.
Okay, yeah, but you get settled into your chair, right? And you're playing, and you're drinking your Mountain Dew and eating your Doritos, and you're like, whoa, this is such a cool assassin. It's so cool to get to play an assassin that isn't like learning, and you have all these powers already just straight off the bat. And then they're like, welcome, Charles Lee, to the Knights Templar. And then you fall backwards out of your chair, spilling Mountain Dew and Doritos everywhere. And your mom comes in all pissed off. And she's like, hey, how the hell did all these Doritos get in here? Why is this sock so stiff, son? And you're like, I'm sorry, Mom. Please, just get out of my room. Please.
Okay.
Oh, you just don't understand.
And with that, we should start talking about what a Templar is and what Assassin's Creed is.
I don't know whether that's going to go in the front or the back. Because maybe we should have explained what Assassin's Creed is first.
Yeah, it's on the docket, but we really got into the games as a system.
In case this is your first episode, you wouldn't believe it, again, based on the last 20 minutes, but that is the focus of this podcast. We also, I promise the next 30 minutes will be more funny than a lot of just really very enjoyable but super serious discussions about the nature of Assassin's Creed games.
I mean, Ian, the show is young enough. We could change it to people that read fan fiction and have strong opinions about Assassin's Creed. We could do that.
Yeah.
There's an
just every episode we just talk a little bit about Assassin's Creed.
This is our Assassin's Creed portion of the show.
It's a podcast within a podcast.
Yeah.
Nice reference, man. Hey, Joey, what did you read?
The Meat Hall presents Friction presents Assassin's Creed Rage podcast.
Assassin's Creed Rage. Clip it. TM.
Hey, and assuming this is either bonus content or cut, Ian, I cannot believe. How long did you think Twilight was a fanfic of Harry Potter?
Oh, 4 or 5 years. No, you have completely crashed and a whole set of perceptions I had about the world.
Oh my gosh, Ian.
You have destroyed me. I had a whole fucking thing. I was thinking about that on the drive from class back to my apartment about how what if we get sued? And J.K. Rowling's pretty chill because she let Twilight be a fan fiction and then she let have a grandchild because 50 Shades is fan fiction of Twilight.
I can't. Wait, who do you think the characters were? Yeah, who do you think Edward was?
I wasn't sure. It was just one of those pieces of trivia, Twilight's a fan fiction of Harry Potter.
Definitely bonus content now.
Ian, I love you.
Oh my gosh. Hey, that was a great episode, right? Now all we have to do is to get Seth to say something really stupid on camera. Yeah, but what are you gonna do? I'll try my best, but we'll work on it. Maybe next week in the Friction podcast. You can like and subscribe and do whatever you want. You're on stuff. You know how to do it. Just support it if you like it. Give us a little thing. All right. Well, I'll see you later. I did it. Get out my